Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Harvest, which is brought to you by Keymaster Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, and games generally run about 30 to 60 minutes. We're glad you're here and eager to contribute to our lovely little farming community. In town, you'll find you have everything you need to create the farm of your dreams. We'd recommend you spend your days wisely, sunrise to sunset, by visiting the many places our town has to offer. We're a busy community, so some areas might get a bit crowded, but certainly you'll be able to adjust and find what you need to reap the most bountiful harvest this season. In Harvest, you take on the role of a farmer with your own unique penchant for working the land, and your farmhouse will also have its own special round-around benefit. Each round, you will draft sunrise cards that give you a one-time income and determine turn order for the round. Following that turn order, move your wheelbarrows around town to gather resources that you'll use to manage your fields, plant seeds, tend to the land, and harvest crops to make money and score points. Clear land to expand your farm, construct buildings that make your land more efficient, and give you in-game bonuses. By the end of the harvest season, the farmer with the most points wins. So, what's new in this version? Well, if you're familiar with the original game, here's what you can expect in this new version. The game has been reimagined and essentially recreated. So, the big ticket items here is the artwork and the game board. Also a new trade action, where you can upgrade items and get what you need at crucial times. The action spots that change from round to round have been updated to reflect all the new options. Buildings have been redesigned and now have variable cost. Yes, expensive when they first arrive, but they do get cheaper over time if they're not built. On your player boards, fertilizer and water are now directly tracked. Forests now cover a lot of your land, so clearing is now one of your main goals to make way for your crops. Clearing the land will also introduce new buildings into the marketplace. The economy is different as well, so instead of spending crops to purchase things, you will gain money when you harvest. Money will be key to doing many things in this version. The crops are now different shapes, polyominoes, so laying out crops in your field is now this spatial game which I really enjoy, trying to make everything fit just right with all the different sizes and shapes. And lastly, I want to mention the player powers. There's so many different characters with abilities to choose from, and you know what, you don't have to play with these abilities. Maybe the first couple games you won't, but adding them in adds a lot of depth to the game. And of these different characters, my favorite is Floyd. He is the master builder. He never needs to pay construction costs, and this is hugely helpful. But all the characters' abilities are really powerful in this game, and you know, it adds some really nice variety for sure. So to start, each player will get a character with a special ability. Now, there's several characters to choose from, but they add a lot of flavor to the game for sure. And then you have your farm board, where you'll be tracking your fertilizer and you'll be tracking your water, all the usages and upgrading and so forth throughout the course of the game. Now, also you have your field, and to start the game off, we have 6 tiles of forest covering it. So part of the game is clearing the forest in order to make way for your farm and plant your crops. Now, as you remove this forest from your board, you'll flip it over and you're gonna be moving it to the workshop area of the town, where now it's a building that can be built, and you have to pay the cost for that as you go. But those are the basics of what you have, and then you have a sunrise card that you'll start with. You have your 3 wheelbarrows, and these wheelbarrows will be your workers to send off to town to gather the supplies that you need in order to make your farm the best it can be. You're gonna get some coin, and you're gonna start with a corn stalk. Now, one of the really cool things about your farm board is there is a special ability that will activate in the morning phase of every round. And the boards are double-sided, so you have some nice options about what you want to use for that particular game. But these are going to do all kinds of things for you. They might allow you to clear forest, or here they might allow you to upgrade your water bucket, or you might be able to roll dice and get resources. So lots of different things that these boards will do, so be choosy about which ones you want to use for your farmers and so forth. But I really like the fact that you have some options here that for every game you play, you can really mix and match how you want to do it. Now, on the main board is the town, where all the places you need to go to gather supplies and plant your field and harvest and so forth. So lots of different things going on here. Around the edge of the board, we'll be tracking points through the course of the game. At the top here, we have our general store. Then we have the farmer's market with variable different types of actions for each game you play. Then you have the field, which is pretty standard as you'd expect, planting and harvesting. Then you have the trading post, where you can turn one thing into another. And of course, you have the workshop, where you can build buildings and do various things like upgrading your water. So those are the basics of what's going on in the new board. And you have these series of sunrise cards, which is how you start off every round in the sunrise phase. You're going to deal out a number of these based on the player count, and you'll be able to, in turn order, go swap cards for ones that you already have, which is going to determine the turn order for the rest of the round. So you'll see there's numbers on it, but this is a great way that they kind of bolster the economy in the game, how you get money and different types of resources. So every round of the game is divided into 3 phases. First we have the sunrise phase, then we have the action phase, and finally sunset phase. So like I said, the sunrise is all about the sunrise cards, where you determine player order to be swapping and changing these out and being able to activate and get the resources that it provides. So you, like in some cases, you're going to get a seed, like here with a strawberry, and 3 coins. So they're going to add a lot, and you have those sunrise abilities on your farm board as well. So you want to not miss out on all those things that you're doing. And then we move to the action phase. In turn order, you'll be taking your wheelbarrow as your worker and placing it in one of the slots and performing the action. Now, a couple notes around these slots: there are some with an infinity symbol. All players could go there. Other slots are just going to be a one and done. One player can use it. Now, some are going to be 3 actions, some will allow for 2, some will allow for 1. So it just depends on where you go. However, the 1 action slots typically have some other benefit, like you might get a coin, things like that. So you really need to be mindful about where you're going and what you need to do to best outfit your farm. And in placing your wheelbarrow, you're going to take that action, like I said. Now, there's all kinds of different buildings and places to go here, and it all becomes very intuitive why you go there. The iconography is fantastic. You don't really need to reference the rule book or any of that because it's very straightforward. Like for the general store, the reason you're going there is to get seed, fill your water bucket, or simply to get more fertilizer. Now, getting fertilizer is going to cost you nothing. Getting wheat costs you nothing as well, but it starts to cost if you have to fill your water, get strawberry, blueberry, or if you get pumpkin, which pumpkin is going to yield the best points when you harvest that crop. So the general store is going to be crucial, obviously, but all of these places are crucial and places you're going to need to go. Next, we have the farmer's market. Now, this is variable. The actions available here are going to change every round, and they're going to allow you to activate things like one action in the field, or allow you to clear and build, or just give you seeds. Though all kinds of different things these are going to add to your board and help you. So these are great ways to get additional actions and just kind of compile things for sure. And then we move to the field, which the field is one of the biggest things you're going to be doing through the course of the game. And there's 3 available worker spots here for 1 action, 2 action, or 3 actions. Now the 3 action will cost you coin. So depending on which round it is will determine how much coin you have to spend to do those 3 actions. So the field has 3 different types of actions. You have plant, tend, and harvest. And based on the seed will determine what you're spending in order to do those things. So for strawberries, you'll spend 1 fertilizer in order to plant a strawberry. You can put it anywhere in your field. But when you go to tend a strawberry, you'll have to spend water, and for every 1 water, you will grow 2 strawberries. Not true with anybody else. However, the interesting thing with blueberry is that when you plant the different blueberries in your field, you have this token, and when you tend it, the actual blueberries will finally grow, and those will not have to touch each other as you put them out in your field. However, anything else as it grows out will have to have this orthogonal placement, touching an edge. It is this polyomino-spatial game. I really like this aspect a lot. And then finally, harvesting. When you harvest, you're going to be able to get some points around the board, and obviously you can see here it's 6 points for every one of the different pumpkins that you harvest. It's really a big pointer, but it takes up a lot of space in your farm. However, for wheat, you're only going to get 1 point, but you actually get fertilizer back, which is nice. And for all of these, you're going to get coins, and you definitely get points and coins for having diversity around your fields and so forth. Moving down to the trading post, you'll see that you'll be able to spend a resource on the left to do one of the things on the right. And basically, they're interchangeable however you use these. But you're gonna do things like activate one of the actions in the field, or you might get to clear forest, or you might get to upgrade your seeds. Yes, you can upgrade seeds, moving from wheat to strawberry to blueberry to finally pumpkin. And you'll get coin here as well. So it's just a nice way to interchange. Maybe you've got an excess of a resource and so forth. And then we have the workshop. There are 3 available actions to you. They're all going to cost you coin though. If you build, depending on which building, you will choose which row and you'll spend 3, 2, or 1 coin. Or if you choose to upgrade your water bucket, moving it up higher so you can use more water, that will cost you 1 coin. And then finally, it'll cost you 2 coin in order to clear a field and roll this resource dice. This will give you all kinds of things like fertilizer, or you might get a seed type. Lots of different things going on with this dice. There's also other ways you can get these dice to roll based on the sunrise cards, or potentially from a building that you put into play. Now, buildings, when you build, you have to have the room on your board in order to build them, and you will have seen more buildings come out as folks clear their fields. Now, these buildings are going to have some are going to activate at the end of the game and give you points based on any number of things. Some are going to give you instant action as soon as you put them into play, but once you put any of these buildings into play, they are there permanently. So choose wisely where you place them in your fields. And regardless which building type that you choose or build, it will have some special ability, either for endgame scoring, like I said, or an instant action, which is going to give you resources typically. And it's all very straightforward, very clear what you're doing with each of these buildings. Now, one of the things about clearing is that when you clear, you're going to flip over your tile and put it into the building row. There's buildings on the back of these. So based on what is available slots wise, you'll put it at the most expensive slot available. But at the end of the round, these buildings are going to slide down. Eventually, the bottom row will slide off and you lose the access to them altogether. Once all players have used all their wheelbarrows, taken their final actions, then we move to the sunset phase. And here, the first thing you're doing is gathering up all your wheelbarrows, getting ready for the next round. The buildings all shift down one row, making them cheaper or falling off the board completely. And then you move the round marker up by 1. However, if this was the 4th round, you're just going to total score. And through the course of the game, you'll be getting points, like I said, from harvesting. But at the end of the game, for every building you play, you'll have points. For all the different seeds you have in play, you'll get points, and for different sets of things that weren't used. So lots of different ways to get points to keep in mind as you're making out your farm, building buildings, and harvesting different types of seeds. It is a race because it is only 4 rounds, so you definitely feel that sense of pressure to get the most things built. But along with that, it really is about making the best farm. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, I would say that this is a huge improvement to the game. The board overall is really well done. The iconography is very clear. I like the economy of the game, the power of the characters, and how you clear fields and use the buildings. It's just really intuitive how and what you're doing through the whole course of the game. Now, one of the neat things too is that there is an AI player for like a 2-player game. There is the mayor will come out and fill spots, worker spots that you might need just to kind of block players at certain moments through the game. It does add another element when you have a short player count for sure. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.